Before anyone asks, no, this game is not better than Tron Deadly Discs. It's not even close. Well, here we are. The other Tron game to grace Atari 2600. It's Adventures of Tron from M Network, a game that is not an adaptation of a Tron game that originated on Intellivision. For those needing a refresher, Mattel Electronics conceived 3 games based on the 1982 classic film for their Intellivision console. First being Tron Deadly Discs, which got a 2600 conversion and quite a fun one at that. Then you got Mazatron and Tron Solar Sailor, both of which were exclusive to Intellivision, and let's be honest, neither of which were actually worth playing. So Adventures of Tron is the Atari exclusive Tron game that never graced Intellivision, which is probably a good thing because I can't imagine this playing well on there, which isn't saying much because it barely plays well here. Anyway, you turn on your Atari system, you admire the gradient title screen, and you move the joystick to begin the game proper. So you control Tron. Supposedly, I guess that's supposed to be Tron. Happy to see that he found his pants or something. Anyway, your main goal is to collect all the bits on screen and avoid all the tanks and recognizers that will parade on screen trying to kill you. You use the lifts to move to higher levels, alternating between one or the other, or you wait until the lifts move themselves. You can hold down the stick to move down one level, or you can drop down the middle shaft to go all the way to the bottom. Once you've collected all the bits, there's 7 collectible bits in all, the screen will turn blue, and this is where you head over to the IO beam that will appear in the middle, which will transport you over to the next screen to do the whole thing all over again, but with slightly faster opposition. There are no game variations in Adventures of Tron, though the left difficulty switch does toggle the speed and frequency of the enemies that come in. Either way, the game follows a disturbingly classic trope of having a basis for a good working premise that is marred by some crucial flaws. Most notably, the collision detection for collecting the bits is absolutely atrocious, as it'll sometimes take you several tries to grab a bit before it actually registers as picked up. First time playing, I wasn't sure if I was doing anything wrong, if I needed to do something else beforehand before picking up the bit, but no, it just happens when it decides to happen, and that's kinda bad, especially when tanks and recognizers are crawling up your ass. Also, your jumping prowess is somewhat lacking as your leaps cover very little range, which makes it somewhat difficult to jump over the recognizers and tanks unless you time your jumps just right, which isn't always going to happen. This makes the supposedly easier game with its slower moving enemies not all that easy, while the hard game moves things a bit quicker, but it's also spamming you with enemies left and right and is a bit more frantic. It wouldn't be so bad if the collision detection of the bits wasn't so shit. And it's a shame too, because barring these nagging gripes, Adventures of Tron could have been a fun little game for the short term at least. Eventually, once you get the tanks involved, it's a bit of a mess, but the general idea seems pretty good. Control is responsive enough, moving your little guy shouldn't be a problem. Riding the elevators isn't much of an issue, you just have to alternate between one or the other. That's part of the challenge, as it were. It's just too bad that the game is riddled with some dreadful flaws that kinda ruins things. Adventures of Tron sports some colorful yet simple graphics. The only thing vaguely Tron-esque are the little recognizers that swoop by. Maybe the tank if you squint a little bit. Everything else is a take it or leave it affair, including the little Intellivision man, little M Network man. Dodged a bullet there. Sound effects are nothing to write home about. They exist, they serve their programs. Relatively inoffensive for Atari stuff, I guess. Overall, Adventures of Tron is a flawed game saddled with a couple glaring issues that sours what could have been an otherwise decent little game. It really boils down to that faulty collision detection of the bits that makes things more frustrating than they really should be. Given the choice of Tron Fair on Atari, I'm gonna stick with Deadly Discs since it's just a better game overall. Adventures of Tron could have been decent, or great even, but just needed a software patch to fix a few things. Oh well. Better luck next time, I suppose. Oh wait, there is no next time. Okay, never mind. Forget I said anything. Bye.